I've been waiting for this for so long. As someone who sits in the middle and can see the good and the bad of Trump, what a glorious day. The big story of the midterms, right, is one, the red wave didn't materialize. And we all saw that. And the blame, more people are getting emboldened to blame MAGA and Donald Trump, right? The MAGA, Stop the Steal, Donald Trump, that whole ecosystem. More and more people are blaming that, right? You're seeing the headlines, you're seeing the tweets. And Trump, being the petty child that he is not handling this well at all, right? And I see people who like this Will Witt, I think his name is on Instagram. He's like, this is so dumb. Trump's being so petty and childish. Why would he do this? This doesn't make any sense. Guys, lots of us been saying this for 6 years, that this guy is a petty child who cannot handle himself like a adult. Are some of his policies okay? Yeah. This isn't about mean tweets. It's about character, which this motherfucker lacks, right? He lacks. Remember this? When he was doing making the guy who has like cerebral palsy or whatever, making fun of him? That's a fucking child. Saying grab him by the pussy is something I don't even feel super comfortable saying. And I say all kinds of crazy shit, right? Like, he's a petty child. And he always has been. And if that upsets you, and that's just sinking in for you right now, I feel sorry for you, but it's true. And so many of us have been disgusted and over it and exhausted by this idiot. And a lot of us, myself included, thought that the country actually needed some good conservative leadership, right? That's why a lot of us look towards Rand Paul. Like, I still like him way more than Ron DeSantis. He has a way better track record when it comes to standing up for freedom, even if I don't agree with him. I respect his principles. But this petulant child that is Donald Trump has exhausted the nation with his nonsense and is so arrogant and narcissistic that he can't even see it and thinks that he has leverage. Since this motherfucker came down the escalator, he has not been more weak than right now. Right now, Donald Trump is at his weakest since he's come onto the political scene. Because it was a spectacle, and then it was a surprise, and then it was a threat to democracy, and then it was whatever, every other narrative of unfair narratives, by the way, that the media just like threw out when there was plenty of room for legitimate criticism. They just made shit up, right? Russiagate, all this other bullshit. It was just noise, chaos. Hate each other. Was what they're saying. Like the subliminal message between all of that was Americans need to hate other Americans for having different opinions. That was the main narrative from Fox to MSNBC. The full spectrum was Americans should hate other Americans because they're threatening America, the America that you want. That was what everybody wanted, which was disgusting, right? All the way through the Biden administration to right now. And right now, at this time, for the first time in 6 years, there's a little bit of peace. Everybody's down-regulated a little bit. And people are trying, right? The Dinesh D'Souzas of the world are trying to stir it back up, but people are exhausted with this bullshit. Myself included, I'm assuming you guys too, right? Just exhausted with all of this and just want some peace. Want everyone to calm the down. All of this, you guys need to hate each other narrative, this rhetoric, all it does is make more crazy ass shit on the left and the right. Because it's a distraction tactic, which we can't even get to the substance of. So seeing this happen at the midterms, right? And now we have this incredibly predictable, unsurprising response from Donald Trump attacking the people who actually have a chance to win and create some quality leadership that's not based on distraction and hatred and just sheer liberal tears or whatever right? And that idea, it's the leftist tears, like the Ben Shapiro kind of thing. It's stupid. It's stupid. Quality leadership is what matters, right? And you can say that. Like I can sit here and even say with Donald Trump or whoever it was, I can sit here and be like, there's some things that person did well and there's some things that person did poorly and take myself out of it. Now, what the MAGA faithful will be like, oh, well, you just don't like mean tweets, which is the dumbest thing ever. I don't give a fuck about mean tweets. Do I think they're annoying and inappropriate and unpresidential? Yeah, but that's not what I'm basing my decision on, right? But they want to think that, right? It's the same people that are like super religious that think the only reason that you wouldn't be Christian is because you had a bad experience in the church. It has nothing to do with the fact that you think their ideology is weak and it doesn't resonate with you in the slightest, right? For them to accept that, right? For them to accept that you have actual valid reasons to dislike Donald Trump would defeat their own internal bias, right? Their own belief system. And we're not talking about facts, we're talking about beliefs, right? Because when you hear people talk about Trump and he's like, he got things done, but they never say what it was, right? Very rarely will they be like, what was it? And then you could be like, well, I dislike these things about his policies, and they don't know how to respond. It's really interesting. All that to say, we come to this place where we have this completely predictable tantrum. It's a Trump tantrum. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to be seeing these now. I'm predicting this. We're going to be seeing Trump tantrums for the foreseeable future. And for the next 2 years, it's going to be him lashing out. And every time he does, it'll be more and more petty. And here's the thing. He's going to try and like throw dirt onto Glenn Youngkin and Ron DeSantis. But the thing is, he broke the mold, right? The grab him by the pussy guy got elected. So if Ron DeSantis had an affair, or if Glenn Youngkin had an affair, something like that, no one cares anymore. No one gives a shit. Because of people like you, Trump. Like, you've changed where character is actually, you've created such a broad spectrum for what people will accept as the character of the president that now we've lowered the bar. So if Ron DeSantis was like having orgies with hookers, no one really gives a shit. Because you were too, right? You used campaign funds as hush money for Stormy Daniels, dude. And you think that people are going to give a shit when you're like, oh my God, he was sleeping with hookers. No one cares, dude. No one cares. Because he showed leadership. So it's like, yeah, if he likes to fuck. It's in the Bill Clinton. People loved Bill Clinton on the left and the right. He Monica Lewinsky, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, and then he lied about it. Well, dude likes to get his dick wet. What can I tell you? Oh, well, is he doing a good job? Is the economy good? And then the conservatives are chastised for impeaching him. By the way, a lot of those same conservatives are still in Congress right now, right? They're still involved in politics. And they think that Bill Clinton, a shady, like sketchy skis-ball, right, was a problem. But Donald Trump, a shady, sketchy skis-ball, is okay, right? So the hypocrisy just abounds. So it's very strange. And I keep going on tangents because I feel free to say this stuff finally, right? Because there was no red wave and MAGA lost. So now we can pile on. And I want to push more momentum in that direction. Because competitive, rational, quality, conservative leadership is helpful for our nation. As someone who's on the left, I still want quality conservative candidates because they hold candidates on the left to a higher standard. Healthy competition within politics is beautiful. It's what we need. So let's read through Trump's statement here. And Caleb Hill, I don't know who this guy is. He's verified, but that means nothing now. Says Trump is done. This is the dumbest possible thing he could do. Now, we did say that about grabbing by the pussy too. So let's just be mindful here that he can somehow find a way. Teflon Don, right? November 10th, 2022. Statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post is all in for Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor with great public relations, who didn't have to close up his state, but did, unlike other Republican governors whose overall numbers for Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who was the average, who had the advantage of sunshine, where people were badly run states up north would go no matter who the governor was, just like I did. Okay, so let's break this down. Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious. Now, calling Ron Sanctimonious is kind of funny, but also it's like not a great nickname because he's the most popular figure in your party, right? So now you're dividing Republicans, which only hurts you guys in 2024. So see what we're talking about when it's about Trump before it's about the party, about constituents, about people. It's about him. It's always been about him. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about you. He can use working class populist rhetoric, but he does not care about you, and he never has. And if you believe that, you're a fucking fool. Okay? If you think that, like, Barack Obama, I bought into the hope and change shit, even though I didn't vote for him either time. But I thought he could do some good. Looking back, and it's like looking at if you fell for that, yeah, you're a fool. It was dumb, especially if you stuck with it. If you fall for it in the beginning, right? In the campaign, if you're like, yeah, you know what? I think he's going to do something for working class folks. Or I think there's going to be hope and change, whatever, Obama and Trump. But after a couple of years, you see that's not the case. And you still hang on. And you still hang on. And you can't admit to yourself that you were wrong. Then you're a fool. Then you're a fool. He only cares about himself. Just like Obama cared more about the big banks than he did about the people that lost their homes in 2008. These are harsh realities of our politics. We've just got to keep this in mind and stay objective. So Ron DeSantis, who is an average Republican governor with great public relations, who didn't have to close his state, but did. So now he's trying to rewrite history and make it as if DeSantis closed his state for an unreasonable amount of time, which is so abundantly far from the truth. We, as the rest of the country, were looking at Florida and Texas and saying, hey, these guys seem to be doing okay. Why don't we do it like them? Right now, he did, I think, closing the state down, lockdowns for, not I'd say lockdowns, but like chilling the out for a couple of weeks while we were figuring this out, right? The actual 2 weeks to slow the spread made some sense. And a little bit of stimmy money outside of that also made some sense for people who weren't able to work or to businesses to be able to keep their people on board, right? Service industry and things like that. But it got pushed on. And then we're a year. It's like, it was crazy. But a couple of weeks, I think was reasonable, right? And that's why they used that rhetoric to lie to us. But DeSantis was made a villain by corporate media and the Democratic establishment. And he handled it like a grown-up, which a lot of people saw, like myself, and go, this guy has potential, because not that I even know that much about his other policies, and I'm sure I would disagree with him on several things, but he handled it like a grown-up, which Donald Trump is incapable of doing. He's had numerous opportunities to handle it with a little bit of pizzazz. And here's where I see DeSantis being more like the Obama of the right. Because Obama would say cheeky shit and give a little smirk and kind of be, it was good. He would throw a little backhanded. He was savvy like that, right? And DeSantis is kind of savvy like that. Whereas Trump is so bombastic. It's like, if you think about it in terms of comedians, right? Trump is like Carrot Top, slapstick, blah, 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 like loud noise. But like, how long can you watch Carrot Top? Whereas you look at someone like, we'll just use gingers for this, but you look at someone like DeSantis and you think of more like a Louis C.K. Maybe he likes to jerk off on the phone, right? Also, kind of sneaky with his jokes, right? Like kind of slow plays it. And you can watch, that's why Louis C.K. could put out a special every year, a new hour every year. But if you had to watch Carrot Top for 3 hours straight, like you could watch 3 back-to-back Louis C.K. documentary or specials and be okay with it, right? It'd probably be a little old by the end, but you could hang on. Think about watching 3 hours of Carrot Top. That's the difference between Trump and DeSantis. So he says that DeSantis had the advantage of sunshine, where people from badly run states up north would go no matter who the governor is. Well, I mean, maybe, yeah, like you did, okay. Who cares? So old people went to Florida and didn't die. You know what I mean? Like, okay, fine, moving on. Ron came, we knew this was coming, by the way. The whole, like, I am the reason that DeSantis got elected. And I am the reason DeSantis is even noteworthy because of me. It has nothing to do with the fact, yeah, maybe you helped him get elected. I can concede that. But he governed on his own, right? Just because you help somebody get elected, you helped Lauren Boebert get elected in an R+9 district, and she's almost lost. She might win by a couple thousand votes. So what that says to me is that she underserved her constituents so poorly. And the only reason she exists is because of you, but that's all she's done. And she serves you before she serves her constituents, is why she almost got voted out in a very red district. Very red. So that doesn't really mean anything, does it? It says, Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, losing in a landslide to a very good agricultural commissioner, Adam Putnam, who was loaded up with cash and had great polling numbers. Ron had very low approval, bad polls, and no money, but he said that if I would endorse him, why is that capitalized? He could win. I didn't know Adam, so I said, let's give it a shot. When I endorsed him, it was as though, and to use a bad term, a nuclear weapon went off. Years later, They were the exact words of Adam Putnam used to describe Ron's endorsement. He said, I went from having it made with no competition to immediately getting absolutely clobbered after your endorsement. I then got Ron by the star of the Democratic Party, Andrew Gillum, who was later revealed to be a crackhead. This guy's a child. By having 2 massive rallies with tens of thousands of people at each one, I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum. But after the race, when the votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County, and Ron was going down tens of thousands of votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended, just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen. I think that's the big bombshell. He's like, I've got some things that Ron doesn't want people to see. They don't want him to see. It's going to be very terrible for him. Not good. Badly. It's going to work very badly for him. I guess this is it. Is that Trump may have committed election fraud? I don't know here, guys. I just don't know. Here we go. Keep going. And now Ron DeSanctimonious is playing games. The fake news asked him if he's going to run if President Trump runs. And he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking into the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's not really the right answer. Trump still thinks he has the Republican Party by the balls. And I've been saying this. I just don't think he does. I do not think he does anymore. Especially after it was already wavering before the midterms, but now we can start ignoring this petulant child. This is just like 2015 and 2016, a media assault collusion when Fox News fought me to the end until I won, and they couldn't have been nicer and more supportive. The Wall Street Journal loved low energy Jeb Bush and a succession of other people as they rapidly disappeared from sight, finally falling in love or in line with me after I easily knocked them out one by one. We're in exactly the same position now. They keep coming after us, MAGA, but ultimately we will win. Put America first and make America great again. Oh, Donald J. Trump. What a clown. What a clown. And then not only, I know I've rambled about this so much and how petty and childish this is. And I just keep saying those words because I just think like that's all I can think of. This seems like the best words. It's a tantrum. It's a Trump tantrum. That's all it is. Now, it continues, right? So you have Ron DeSantis, who is a governor that showed competence and was rewarded for this competence and won by 19 points or whatever. Something crazy, right? And then we go back and think about that election with Glenn Youngkin when he ran like a normal conservative, asked Trump not to campaign for him, did not want Trump's endorsement, right? Because he knew that it carried so much baggage. And now that's another person who is seen as a viable candidate. He's a fucking hedge fund manager or some shit, right? He's like a personal finance bro in a vest. Like I would not vote for Glenn Youngkin. And then we look at this, and now Jonathan Swan tweets this: Trump is attacking Glenn Youngkin. Now listen to this. This is even more ridiculous than the other statement. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. Youngkin, that's young, the word young with Ken. What? So this is his nickname now. Instead of Ron DeSanctimonious now, he's going to start saying Youngkin like it's a Chinese name. Okay, so Youngkin, now that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? What, dude? What? Are you trying to create an association with Youngkin and China? Is that dude? This guy is so dumb. I feel sorry for you if you supported this dude. Especially if you spoke up, if you voted for the guy, that's a different conversation. If you were like wearing a red hat, doing the thing, have a sticker on your car, I feel so. Take that shit off, dude. He's embarrassing you and himself here. So it says, Youngkin in Virginia couldn't have won without me. I endorsed him, did a very big Trump rally for him telephonically. I did a big rally for him telephonically, got MAGA to vote for him, or he couldn't have come close to winning. But he knows that and admits it. Besides, having a hard time with the Dems in Virginia, but he'll get it done. So what? So Youngkin did not want Trump's endorsement or for Trump to rally for him, but apparently he did telephonically. What the f? I mean, he could say like telephone. What does telephonically mean? Did he record a message that got spammed to everybody? Like what? This fucking guy, dude. It's so fun. I've been waiting for this for so long. As someone who sits in the middle and can see the good and the bad of Trump, the pettiness and the childishness of it, just like it irks me so bad. And this is what any politicians do this. Whether it's AOC crying about something, it drives me nuts. Dan Crenshaw, it drives me like the pettiness of politics drives me crazy. And now I get to watch Donald Trump go down in flames, having tantrums all the way. And I'm just so happy. It's so good for the country. It's so good for the country for this to happen. I can't. And then we get to get some Republican candidates and they, with competent leadership, will wipe out Democrats. And then Democrats will have to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate their entire message and their entire platform. And then we get to move into a new generation of politics. But this was required. This needed to happen for that to happen. And it's happening now. What a glorious day. So if you enjoyed this clip from the Politically Homeless premium community on Patreon, then consider joining yourself. Get involved in the conversation and help us create content just like this. We do a bonus episode every week that is sourced from the Patreon for the Patreon. We have a good time. A bunch of like-minded people being able to say what they want, say what they think, say what they feel, have communication with one another, dive into some really challenging topics. It's a great place. I think you'd love it. So check it out. There's a link on the screen. There's a link in the caption or the description of the video down there. You know what I'm talking about. Patreon.com/politicallyhomeless. Get your ass in there.